Hello, Atheist Morph here, and today I'm going to be looking at faith, why it isn't a path to truth, and equivocation fallacies. So I came across this tweet the other day. It's very difficult to see how somebody can get so much wrong in just 288 characters. However, I want to focus today just on the end bit, not the bits that say many, that's the ad populum fallacy, and we'll come back to that another time, but just the fact that they say Christians and Jews and other theists. To me, that actually is the thing that defeats the purpose of their whole tweet. It's self-refuting. These people believe different things on the basis of faith, and that alone should tell you that faith is not a way that you can use to decide what's true and what's not true. So let's elaborate on that. Let's suppose we've got person X who believes propositions A, and we've got person Y who believes propositions B, and we've got person Z who believes proposition C. Now these are different things that they believe. So like Jews and Christians and Muslims and Hindus, they all believe different things. We could even set this up on a Venn diagram. The Venn diagram might look like this, where there's overlap between their ideas, but there's other shapes of Venn diagram, and we're just talking about 3 people at the moment. So we could have a Venn diagram where there's no overlap. All of their ideas are mutually exclusive. So they can't all be right. Even on the other diagram, there may be some commonality in what they believe, but there are things that they believe that the others don't. They can't all be right, but they could all be wrong. And this is something that Hitch said with his usual wonderful eloquence. And on the other hand, it's something that Ricky Gervais has made obvious. Only your God is real. All those things those other people believe, those are false. Well, isn't it really lucky that you just happen to have the one true set of beliefs? Many people, including, I remember, Richard Dawkins, have made it clear that things that are true would be unlikely to split along geographic lines the way that religions do. Clearly these are things that grew up when there was little communication between people, when people were more isolated than they are today. Can you imagine a scientific idea being split along these lines? The one I saw Dawkins use was a really good one. Could you imagine that this set of people over here believe that the dinosaurs were killed by an asteroid impact? These set of people over here think it was a virus. These set of people over here think it was volcanoes. There may be people that believe all of those things, or that all of them contributed, but they're mixed, they're not geographically. It's not just people over in this continent believe this and people over in this continent believe that. Things that are true just simply wouldn't be geographically divided like that. So what am I talking about when I talk about faith? Well, if I just Google it, I get these 2 definitions. Now, when I talk about religious faith, I'm always using the second. And in fact, I try never to use faith in the sense of the first definition ever in my life. If I've seen somebody do something before, I have confidence in them, not faith. Faith is when you have no evidence whatsoever. This is where religious faith is. Now, they might try to convince you otherwise, and they often do. But the reasons they give for believing are always fallacious in some way, and I'll go into that in other videos. Now, before I go on and look at how Christians and theists of all stripes indeed equivocate between those 2 definitions, which is why I only ever use the second definition, let's look at how many different sets of beliefs there are. So just a brief search on Google, And I saw this estimate that there are 4,200 religions in the world. Now think about the Venn diagram we had with just 3 sets of beliefs. We've now got 4,200 different circles overlapping in different ways, or not overlapping in different ways, on that diagram. And all of these different things believed on the basis of faith, i.e. no evidence to support them whatsoever. If we look at Christianity itself, I found this estimate: there are 33,000 different types of Christian in the world, all believing slightly different things to each other. And all of them led there on the basis of faith. So clearly, faith cannot be a reliable path to deciding what's true if there are so many different things believed on the basis of faith. Now, a little while ago, I was involved in a debate. It was a group debate, it wasn't just one-on-one. But one of the theists threw at me the idea that I have faith that my father is my father. Now, it's true that I haven't actually done a DNA test to see if this is the case. However, what do I have evidence of that they don't? They've got no direct evidence of their God. But I've got evidence that people exist, or at least if we don't go solipsistic, I have. I have evidence that people procreate by having sex, and that at the time I was born, my father was married to my mother, and married people do have sex. So already I'm on a firmer footing than they are. I can apply a level of confidence, and it's obviously not 100% because I haven't done a paternity test, but I can apply a level of confidence to the fact that I am my father's son, apart from the obvious phenotypic qualities that we have in common. Now, the next one I've seen, and I've seen it on Twitter, and I wish I could have actually found it, but here it is anyway, is that when you get on an aeroplane, you have faith that there's a pilot behind the door. Presumably, they're saying this because you haven't seen the pilot behind the door, just like they haven't seen their God. However, we're still on firmer footing with the pilot. I've seen documentaries where pilots fly planes. I've seen The Battle of Britain, the film, where there were pilots flying planes. I've actually seen pilots walking through the airport on the way to their planes. I've seen Top Gun. We know that people fly planes, and yes, more and more they're assisted by the automatic pilot. But I'll tell you something else I've got confidence in. They wouldn't have that plane flying without a pilot unless they were absolutely sure that their driverless technology was 100%. Not that anything can be 100%, but you get the picture. Now, the third and last one that I want to talk about is that you have faith that your mother, sister, etc., wife, love you. Well, we can still have confidence in that, not faith. Now, it may well be that love is just a product of, serotonin and vasopressin and oxytocin and all these sorts of things. However, there's no doubt that we fall in love and that we feel in love and we have feelings. These things are not in doubt. Now, when you share a lot of time with somebody, like a close relative, there are things that pass between you that give you evidence of that affection. So once again, it's not like God, where they've got no evidence whatsoever. The evidence may be slightly more tenuous here, but you can still have a level of confidence in it. Okay, so we're going to now look at a couple more things, and the first of which is this tweet from Lee Strobel. Now, I'm not going to go into detail about this tweet because that's not appropriate in this particular video. I may well do another video where we look at the claims that he makes here in much greater detail. What I want to draw your attention to first is the last sentence. He says, I simply don't have that much faith. But I thought that faith was a good thing, and having more of it you'd think would be a better thing. So shouldn't he be in awe of people who have more faith than him? I think with the derogatory way he's talking about faith here, He knows in his heart of hearts that faith is not a good thing. In fact, theists generally know that faith is not a good thing. Otherwise, why do they keep on trying to come up with evidences and arguments in favour of their position? If they thought that faith, just blind faith, was good enough, why would they do that? Anyway, read through the tweet and you'll see that all he's doing is building a straw man position. This is the type of thing that Strobel writes that makes many people doubt that he was in fact ever an atheist. And as for faith being required, no faith is required at all for my position. Everything that I believe has a level of confidence that's appropriate for the amount of evidence for it. So I'm very confident that the theory of evolution is correct because there's lots of evidence in favour of evolution. However, nothing is held sacred, and if something actually falsified evolution tomorrow, and I'm not talking about why are there still monkeys, then I would drop that theory and we'd be looking for a new theory because creationism is not a competing theory. It doesn't qualify as a theory at all. So some might say, why not just let people who use faith to decide their position just carry on their merry way? Does it really do any harm? Well, the simple fact of the matter is, yes, it does. Look at who the President of the United States is at this very moment. Look at the fact that climate change denial is rife. Anti-vaxxers, look at the harm they're causing. And then there's things like this one story that I saw yesterday on Twitter. A boy is dead today where he'd probably be alive and recovering if his father had taken him to see a doctor. But instead of thinking the child was ill, the father thought he was possessed by demons, and so he took action to kill the demon. Instead of killing the demon, he's killed his child. Do we really think in this day and age that demons are a real thing? But there are people out there who do, and it's because they don't apportion their beliefs to the evidence.